May we be seated as we wait the arrival of the Deputy Minister? Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We are ready to start. Can I get a signal? May we start? Thank you. All right, before we start, let's allow the national and AU anthems to be played. Please be seated. It is indeed a serene morning. We are blessed by the showers from the heaven. Honorable Dr. Emma Kantema, Deputy Minister, Sport, Youth and National Service. NAST Council members here present. Professor Harold Naumap, NAST Vice Chancellor. Miriam Dukua, DVC Operations and Finance. Prof. Colin Stanley, DVC Research, Innovation and Partnership. Prof. Andrew Nikondo, DVC Teaching, Learning and Technology. Prof. Sifiso Nyati, Registrar. Mr. Arize Okafor, CEO, Namibia Investment and Finance Academy, NIFA. Dr. Like Rastas, MTC Director. Dr. Anna Matros Gorezes, Director, Research, Innovation and Partnership. Mr. Shoki Mafeto, Bloomberg SA, South Africa. Mr. Ian Erlang, RMB Banking. NAST Management, Executive Deans and Associate Deans here present. Industry partners, distinguished students and academics, distinguished invited guests, future financial professionals, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Good morning. That seems better. We are here joined today to witness the launch of Bloomberg Financial Lab. The lab bridges actually the gap between practice and theory, but not just that, it cements NAST or even Namibia as a financial knowledge hub. It will be able to provide real-time financial data, such as market data, including equities, commodities, currencies, and fixed income. It's also a comprehensive financial tool enabler, such as Bloomberg ASL Edzin, Bloomberg Charting, and financial modeling, risk management analysis, portfolio management, education value, which our universities and also our Namibian people will be able to benefit through real-world simulations. It also provides networking and job opportunities in the sense that students and entrepreneurs will be able to provide, through their subscription, will provide entrepreneurship services and consultancy, thereby really equipping our youth with the ability to be entrepreneurs. We will then be part of the global network of experts in the areas of finance. So in short, Bloomberg Financial Lab is a vital educational and professional tool offering users a deep dive into the complexities of global financial markets. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to call to the podium Prof. Colin Stanley, our Deputy Vice Chancellor for Research, Innovation, and Partnership, to actually address us with the welcoming remarks. Thank you.
Director of Ceremonies, you mentioned rain. In Botswana, rain means pula. And pula is money. And we're talking about finance today. What a coincidence. Let me also extend on the protocols that you have already established. Honorable Dr. Emma Katema, Deputy Minister for Sport, Youth, and National Service. Professor Errol Naumap, NAST Vice Chancellor, Dr. Liki Rastes, Managing Director at MTC, Mr. Arendse Akwafor, Chief Executive Officer for the Namibia Investment and Finance Academy, NIFA, Mr. Eric Garisep, General Manager for Insurance and Medical Aid Funds at the Namibia Financial Institutions Supervisory Authority, in short known as NAMFISA. Mr. Mashori Ekwa, Deputy Governor and Officer in Charge at the Bank of Namibia, BON. Mr. Josephat Mwatatele, Chief Executive Officer at the Namibia Savings and Investment Association, NASIA. Mr. Tanya Smith, Financial Director at MTC. Ms. Shoki Mapeto of Bloomberg South Africa, and the Executive Management of NAST, Executive Management of MTC, industry partners, distinguished students and academics, distinguished invited guests, future financial professionals, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Good morning. Thank you. It is my distinct honor to welcome you all at the launch of the official launch of the Bloomberg Finance Lab at NAST. For now, I'll coin or abbreviate it as BBFL, Bloomberg Finance Lab. This landmark initiative is pivotal in advancing Namibia's financial education, industry collaboration, and global competitiveness. Today, we are not merely unveiling a facility, but laying the foundations for a future where knowledge meets opportunity. Industry meets academia, and Namibia meets the global financial ecosystem. This is a collective effort, and it is through strategic partnerships that we have made this vision a reality. Strength of collaboration. In collaboration with Bloomberg, this remarkable milestone was achieved through visionary thought leaderships from NAST, MTC, and the Namibia Investment and Finance Academy, NIFA. Their unwavering commitment to skills development, innovation, and financial literacy exemplifies what is possible when institutions unite with a common goal. The Bloomberg Finance Lab is more than just a cutting-edge technology. It is a hub of transformation, a space where students, policymakers, and industry leaders can harness the power of real-time financial data. I want to underline real-time financial data, advanced analytics, global market insights to drive economic progress. A game changer for Namibia's financial sector. As financial markets evolve, so must our ability to develop talent, strengthen our capital markets, and foster innovation. To remain competitive, Namibia must invest in a knowledge-driven economy or knowledge-based economy. We have heard this several times. Now, the Bloomberg Finance Lab, or BBFL, will enable our students, researchers, and industry professionals, number one, to access global financial data to enhance market insights and economic decision-making. Two, develop advanced investment and risk management skills, which are critical for fostering a resilient financial sector. Thirdly, bridge the gap between theory and real-time application, ensuring that our graduates are academically prepared and industry-ready. Now, industry, government, and media a shared responsibility. This launch is not just an academic milestone for us, but is a national priority. Strengthening our financial ecosystem requires a commitment from a collective government, industry, and academia. Institutions like NAST and industry leaders such as MTC, NIFA, and Rand Merchant Bank, RMB, must work hand in hand to nurture a generation of professionals equipped with the knowledge and the tools and expertise to navigate the modern financial markets. Additionally, the media plays a crucial role in amplifying this initiative. By bringing visibility to the opportunities the Bloomberg Financial Lab presents, you can shape public discourse, inspire future generations, and reinforce the importance of financial literacy. Your role is integral in bridging knowledge, policy, industry engagement. Now, allow me, Director of Ceremonies, on final thoughts to take a pause on what we are seeing on our NAST logo that has transformed this year. NAST is celebrating its 10th year anniversary as a University of Science and Technology with the theme, A Decade of Eminence, celebrating education, science, and technology for development. Now, eminence means a place of rising ground. NAST is rising. As we celebrate these 10 years, it's critical that we take a step back and reflect on the last 5 years of those 10 years under the leadership of the Vice Chancellor through his thought leadership. And one of the key achievements of those last 5 years is the high-tech transfer plaza select, HTTPS, where we are today. Concept that connects ecosystem, concept of ecosystem that connects industries and universities. Now imagine a bustling plaza, where big screens, students behind the screens, analyzing financials and data trends, graphics from global financial firms happening at real time on NAST campus. I think this is surreal, and it's like in movies, but it's happening here. Now, HTTPS, the high tech, is not only in isolation, but it connects to the social innovation hub or social innovation aspect. That's why we are busy revamping our Namibia Business Innovation Institute so that it caters the social innovation aspect. Now, you might also last year have heard about the NAS Lutres campus inauguration, where we were talking about science, technology, science parks, or Technovation Park. This is linked to this HTTPS. We are now expanding the concept into regions. HTTPS resonates with the concept, build and they shall come. And I think this is already happening. We have witnessed just this year alone, a couple of universities from South Africa coming to NAS to learn how they can replicate the HTTPS concept in South Africa. This is a paradigm shift where, thank you. The NAS vision for this ecosystem is to give birth to a unicorn startup company valued at 1 billion very soon. Now, as we embark on this journey, ladies and gentlemen, let us recognize this is just the beginning. The Bloomberg Finance Lab is a catalyst for change, a beacon of Namibia's commitment to excellence, innovation, and global integration. Now, financial literacy is a critical component for Namibians' personal and economic well-being. By investing in financial education and promoting access to financial services, Namibia can empower its citizens to make a sound financial decision, build wealth, and contribute to the country's overall economic stability and prosperity. To our partners, especially NIFA, MTC, and RMB, we extend our deepest appreciation for making this initiative possible. To our students, industry leaders, and policymakers and the media, this is your platform, your opportunity, and your future. Let us work together to ensure that Namibia participates in the global financial economy and leads in shaping its future. The journey starts now. With those welcoming remarks, I thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Stanley, for these welcoming remarks. What do we say? Are we not inspired? Another round of applause, please. From the welcoming remarks, I was excited by the marketing mantra here presented, which states, knowledge meets opportunity. So we can adopt that, isn't it? Because knowledge really meets opportunity, and that's why we are here. And also another marketing philosophy, the BBFL. It makes it easier, isn't it, to remember. So that's what we teach in the classroom, make things easier. We actually teach about the KISS principle, keep it simple and easy, somehow like that. So BBFL stands for Bloomberg Financial Lab, and it's here to stay. And we shall make good use of it. As we celebrate our 10th anniversary, we really recognize this as a priority. We need to strengthen our education system. We need to create jobs. Entrepreneurship is the way to go. And Professor Stanley delved into that. And thank you very much for your presentation. So with that, we are ready to move to the next component of our program, which is the keynote address by our Honorable Deputy Minister, Emma Kantema. But before she does that, I'll request our Vice Chancellor to do an introduction. I was told to call Prof. Naumap, so you are being put on the spot, but I'm ready with the yes. I think you will do justice to do that. This is yes, the entire citation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Semende, for this opportunity. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I wasn't actually prepared or expecting to be called to the podium to present our Honorable Dr. Emma Kantema, to deliver the keynote speech this morning, but I regard it as a distinct honor to do so. I think that perhaps colleagues internalize in their discussions and say, who's the most ideal person to introduce our very dynamic and very, what's the word that I can use now? Profound leader this morning. There are 2 pages, Honorable, and I think it's just befitting before the 21st to let Namibians know they've really gone all out to give this profile. Honorable Dr. Emma Kantema is a distinguished member of parliament and a member of parliament elect also. Should I add it? Yes. Yeah. And the Deputy Minister in the Ministry of Sport, Youth and National Service. Her career is marked by significant contributions to the public and corporate sector. Having previously held the role of Executive Director within the same ministry and carrying valuable experience from her time with the Social Security Commission as Company Secretary and Acting CEO between 2015 and 2016. Dr. Kantema's academic journey recently culminated in the attainment of a doctorate in business administration, with research delving into the determinants of success for youth-owned small and medium enterprises in the Kavango region of Namibia. This prestigious qualification enhances her extensive academic portfolio, which includes a master's degree in business administration with a focus on corporate governance and corporate strategy, natural resource management from the Namibia University of Science and Technology. She has also earned a postgraduate certificate in strategic leadership and management from the University of Coventry in the UK, an advanced certificate in corporate governance from UNISA, and a certificate in managing social security pensions from the University of Witwatersrand. A visionary corporate governance and advocate for youth. Dr. Kantema is a founding board director for the Namibia Civil Aviation Authority, has served as a council member for the Namibia University of Science and Technology, and has held directorship roles at NIPAM, Governing Council, and as a founding director of the Namibia Institute of Corporate Governance. Her current role as a trustee for the Semnioma Marine and Coastal Resource Research Center, Sanumar, further underscores her dedication to the development of Namibia. Dr. Kantema's commitment to fostering youth empowerment and advocating for excellence in corporate governance is not only reflected in her professional work, but also in her scholarly pursuits. Her doctoral research equips her with unique insights that are invaluable to crafting policies and strategies to elevate the entrepreneurial spirit among the young people of Namibia. Ladies and gentlemen, Honorable Dr. Emma Kantema.
I thought professors don't take long. Thank you very much, Professor Nauma, the Director of Ceremonies for this event, Professor Semente. I also want to acknowledge the presence of the Managing Director from MTC, who's one of the strategic partners, the NAST Council. I can see my senior in the midst, Professor Nikondo, doing a lot of work on also youth empowerment from other fronts. I also want to recognize the leadership of NIFA, and I'm learning the abbreviation BFLL. sounds good, right? And also the colleagues from the Bloomberg South Africa, and very important, the future financial professionals. I think that's what caught my eye. Among all the salutation, distinguished invited guests, members of the media, a very good morning. Don't be biased. The way you greeted the professor was different from how I'm being greeted. Thank you very much. It's very exciting to be here. You know, it's my second time to be at the center, the plaza. And every time I walk here, it feels like you're somewhere else. So I agree with, who was it, the professor Stanley, who says it feels like you're in a movie. So it always feels inspiring for me. It's a platform where innovation seems to thrive. And it's not by coincidence that we are back here today to launch a very exciting initiative. It's an honor for me to be part of this launch that will see Namibia's first Bloomberg Finance Lab to be launched on our soil. That, to me and to the ministry that I serve, is a beacon of progress and innovation. As they say in the finance world, and I quote, if you have to focus often. And I can see Nasty's focusing often. Today, we are forecasting a future that's brighter for the youth and for our nation. As Africa's growing population is getting better educated, and I'm sure we've all read several reports, African countries are developing at an unprecedented rate a pool of talent. Skills development, as we know, lies at the heart of the African Union Agenda 2063. Therefore, initiatives such as this lab will provide us with an improved access to quality of skills development that matches the employment opportunities. For me, I think this is the most important part that this lab will provide. It will be key to driving the productive transformation of Africa's economy. I'm therefore pleased to see the strategic partnership of this nature that is between NAST, MTC, RMB, and the academy and the private sector that will ensure that at least we provide this access to the skills that's needed for us to match the market, and also to improve the access to quality skills, especially when it comes to reskilling. We know that the job market is changing and we cannot stay stagnant. In order for us to boost our growth prospects, to harness the demographic dividend, we know that Namibia is one of those countries that are very youthful. Our population stands at 72% of young people. Ladies and gentlemen, this facility is more than just a hub for financial literacy. It's a gateway for our students and professionals to acquire globally competitive skills. Thanks to the visionary partnership between NAST, MTC, and the Namibia Investment and Finance Academy, as well as RMB, our young Namibians are now going to be part of Bloomberg's vast network, tapping into the cutting-edge technology. And very important, it was emphasized already by two speakers, real-time data. They say that data is the next gold. So that is very important, and we are excited to see that our Namibian young people, our Namibian professionals will have this opportunity. That because we know that the real-time data used by Bloomberg have over 325,000 global subscribers. We know that the digital revolution has created a large demand for green skills, and Professor Naumap, I think during our briefing, mentioned how these data can help us even to have early warnings for agriculture. So it's not just in the finance sector, but even issues of climate change, issues of improving productivity, by using technology, especially when it comes to farming. In most African countries, skills gap remain the widest intermediate digital skills. I'm therefore excited that this program will address employment informality through skills development and opportunities for decent jobs that will improve productivity, access to social protection, job security, and working conditions. I was very keen in listening very attentively when Professor Stanley was talking about what the NAST seems to match theory and practice. It takes me back to a research that I've done during my studies for the doctorate, where I looked at the factors, I assessed the factors that influence performance of youth-owned SMEs. And one of those factors are training, skills development, incubation, access to capital, very important, and also access to market. So for us, this platform, for me, I think I'm one of the most happiest person because it's addressing some of my recommendations that I made in the studies. And at government level, we remain committed to ensure that we provide a conducive environment for our businesses to thrive, especially when it comes in the finance sector. We have seen the Regulation 28 of the Pension Act, the Act of 24 of 1956, the one that compels or that regulates the unlisted investment managers, which is very key, especially when it comes to the financial professionals that we want to create. The SME financing strategy that also advocates for the credit guarantee scheme is very important to ensuring financial inclusion because it then provides the access to capital that we know, especially when you speak to young people, these are often the barriers that they mention: access to capital, access to market, and also is the venture capital fund that I've mentioned. I see one of the trustees are here. So please do ensure that that venture capital runs, because all these initiatives that government has put in place to ensure that we address the issues of access to finance. Internship, which is also one of the main pillars of the Bloomberg, the BFLL, that we'll be launching today. Apprenticeship, it's very important because we know that with internship, it increases the employability of graduates to be absorbed in the market. And not just the employability, but it also gives them the much needed exposure. Africa overall has a higher share of informal employment than any other world. I read a report that was produced by the African Union. It's the report, an economic report, Africa's Development Dynamics 2024, Skills, Jobs, and Productivity. I urge you all to read it. It's very interesting because it then speaks to, and it estimates that in Africa, we stand at around 82% of workers in the informal sector, or informal occupation, compared to in Latin America, where it stands at 56%, and in the Caribbean and in Asia, it stands at 73%. So for us, these are some of the initiatives. We are making inroads so that we make sure we reduce from the 82%. I'm therefore confident that through the certification of this training that BFLL will provide, we'll be able to provide a better environment for our professionals and our SMEs to thrive. For too long, we have relied on importing expertise, especially in the finance sector, while overlooking the potential that we have within our borders. By integrating structured apprenticeship and workplace-based training, we can bridge the gap between the academic learning and the industry needs, which is very important. Businesses across various sectors must embed skills training into their models, and I'm seeing a lot of business people, CEOs, managers, industries that we need so that we are able to reap the rewards of increased productivity and innovation. Ladies and gentlemen, job creation is very important. It's not just a responsibility of government, but I'm sure that together, when we have a partnership like this, we are able to equip our young Namibians with the much needed market relevant skills. Public-private partnerships are very essential to ensure that education aligns with the industry needs. I've just spotted Mr. Ekanjo in the audience, and it reminds me of their internship program that they launched a couple of years ago. So these are the initiatives that we need to ensure that we are not just producing graduates and putting them in the streets, but also giving them that launchpad that they need to access the labor market. Director of Ceremonies, the future of Namibia's workforce depend on our investment in young people. And today, I urge all industry players, policymakers, and educators to actively shape the next generation. I would like to pause here and reflect the words of Theodore Roosevelt, who then talks about the men in the arena. So that's how I want us all to be. And he says, it's not the critics who count. It's not the ones who look at it to wait for us to fail, but the credit belongs to the men in the arena, the men whose face is marred with dust and sweat, and the men who's not scared to err, but to try. And that's what I want us to be reminded of today, because together we can build a Namibia where every young person has the opportunity to succeed. Together, we can drive economic growth through skills development and industry collaboration. And together, we can ensure that Namibia's youth are not just prepared for the workforce, but are leading into the future. We are living in that movie that we want to be. We are dreaming and we are reaping the rewards. As Bloomberg would remind us, and I quote, "The best way to predict the future is to create it." And I thank you.
Honorable Dr. Kantema Gaumas, you are a living library. With what you have just presented to us, we could publish numerous papers. Thank you for your thought leadership. Some few takeaways without dissecting the entire speech. Innovation seems and actually thrives at HTPPS. Can we agree with that? We are the center of innovation. We are forecasting a future that is brighter for our youth and our nation. Well said. Thereby providing improved access to quality skills development. We are actually driving a productive economy for Africa. Actually, it's not just Namibia, it's Africa and beyond. Therefore, we need to reskill our professionals, and this lab is a gateway for our students and professionals to global competitive skills. This is really what we mean when the Honorable is speaking. So we are very proud, Doctor, for also being our alumni. We take cognizance of that and we really cherish the fact that we're part of our corridors in one way or another. So without further ado, I would like to first of all request another round of applause to the Minister, Deputy Minister. Thank you very much. The next item on our program, I've swapped them if you've noticed, to really give the eminence that our Minister deserves. Therefore, our next item is the overview of the Bloomberg Laboratory by Mr. Rinze Okafor, the Chief Executive Officer of Namibia Investment and Finance Academy. You have the podium. Thank you. Round of applause.
Good morning. I I would think as the more speakers come, the good morning would increase. But I think taking after such a soul-searching, touching keynote address by the Honorable Minister, I can understand why we are still reflecting. I stand on the protocols that have already been established. Honorable Minister, we are really grateful for your presence, NAST leadership, and esteemed captains of industry. It's a profound honor to stand before you today at the launch of the Bloomberg Finance Lab. It is really a pivotal moment for us as Namibia. We're not, and I echo my fellow speakers' sentiment in saying this is not just a facility. What we are doing, and I'll use a few of my leaders who taught me very early on in my career as an example, but we are localizing world-class skills in Namibia. We will no longer have to export our brightest minds, and I'll touch on where the Minister mentioned on this important pension fund regulation in terms of localizing skills. But why does this lab matter? So I'm here to provide the overview. So let's be honest. As a society, why is it we don't worry when our kids, for those who have children, when you're in grade 10, 11, you're not so worried. Why? But it's because we have options. We trust our education system. But when it's now getting to university time, we now start to think. So WITS was good, Honorable Minister. Stellenbosch, London, they're fantastic. But what do they have that we don't have? Some of them is infrastructure like this. The second one is tools like a Bloomberg. And the third one, which is most important, is industry participation. We can't get some of our captains of industry 2 days away from the job is difficult, talk less of 2 weeks. But workshops, you can get them to come and teach our children. And I have a very personal story that's attached to this Bloomberg Lab. For those that may not know, Honorable, I'm a product of a Bank of Namibia graduate program. And for those who also may not know, I see one of my seniors, Emmanuel, is here. So I came back with a master's from University of London, fantastic university. But my first task was assessment of eBank's banking license. So even all the way in London, I was still taught here. So that says a lot. And furthermore, within 6 months, only with 6 months of Bloomberg training, and at the time, Honorable Shimi sent me to the World Bank. S&T was fantastic though. But on a serious note, that 1 week training set me up. I was only trained virtually on a Bloomberg terminal, and 1 week later, after coming back, I was entrusted in managing our country's global reserves to the tune of 100 million USD. That says a lot, and I think that speaks about our country's capacity. And that is essentially what this Bloomberg does for us. So it's really just a tool. But why is it powerful? So as the Honorable Minister mentioned in my previous speakers, we are going to have globally accredited certifications on demand. One of them is called Bloomberg Markets Concepts. So for those that don't know, so you see some of our asset managers and captains of industry are here. So it teaches you the basics from commodities, markets, economic indicators, fixed income, equity, portfolio management. Those are all the tools that make us sound clever. We want to democratize that knowledge. Apologies. So I'm used to speaking without a speech, so you can see what's happening. The second one, Bloomberg Finance Fundamentals. In our mind, it's a game changer. It's for non-finance people, meaning teaching our entrepreneurs and young graduates the basics. What is GDP, interest rates, the things that affect us every day. I see one of the central bank representatives is here, so they know we don't need to be angry when Bank of Namibia increases interest rates. It's due to the lack of knowledge. But when we understand, we know that they're helping us make the goods that we purchase on a day-to-day basis affordable. And the last one, very topical, ESG. I think we use it a lot. Environmental, social, and governance is also part of the certifications that will be offered here. But beyond finance, as the Minister mentioned, People think we've called it Bloomberg Finance Lab, and Shoki, this was just, and we've done it just not to get in trouble with Bloomberg. You have to call it that. But it's not just finance. I think Nicole will touch on it also during their session. Our current green hydrogen framework, the data has come off Bloomberg. Oil and gas, energy. I learned the other day when I was going through the terminal, supply chain logistics, which I think is a key offering with NAST as well. It's also on the Bloomberg terminal. So this cuts across all of the sectors. So this initiative, as we've said, it's about building a knowledge-based economy. So in closing, as we embark on this journey, so this is the one I will read my speech. We must recognize that it's only the first step. This Bloomberg Lab is an invitation to industry leaders, government, and academia to collaborate on developing a future-ready financial sector. To our partners, the NAST leadership, MTC, RMB, Bloomberg, and everyone who has made this possible, this is what the Bloomberg Finance Lab is about. Students, policymakers, and professionals, this is our platform to shape Namibia's financial future. We collectively must use it, we must own it, lead with it. The future starts here. I thank you.
Mr. Arinze, thank you for these remarks. What do you say? Another round of applause, please. I couldn't help but think that you are a deep learner. When we take courses in postgraduate teaching, we learn about surface learning and deep learning. So what you have demonstrated here, you have demonstrated that you have reflective abilities and that you are a deep learner. A deep learner is able to actually multitask and combine the various learning aspects from one class to another class from the real world, really come up with something. And that's what you have exemplified with your presentation today. A round of applause. Therefore, today, in partnership, we have the Bloomberg Lab that will be able to provide Bloomberg market asset training, Bloomberg finance fundamentals, and ESG, environmental, social governance, amongst other certifications. Thank you very much for your presentation. So we are now ready for the panel discussion, and allow me to call to the podium the panelists in the order in which they appear in the program. Prof. Adolf Naumap, our Vice Chancellor. Ms. Nicole Anushka N. from the Green Hydrogen Program, Head of Green Hydrogen Program, please. That's not correct. I'm reading from here, Head Financial Transactions, Green Hydrogen Program. I think that's the correct. Thank you. Followed by Mr. Enrich Garizep, GM, General Manager, Insurance and Medical Aid Funds. Mr. Masori Ikwa, Deputy Governor and Officer in Charge, Bank of Namibia. I thought the music would be playing as the panelists are coming to the podium, but I think they will do justice after the discussions. The music will be played. Followed by Mr. Josephat Mwato Tele, Chief Executive Officer, Namibia Savings and Investment Association, NASIA. And finally, Mr. Tyner Smith, Financial Director, Mobile Telecommunications Limited, MTC. They will be joined by Mr. Shoki Mupeto, Bloomberg, South Africa. Oh, it's a miss. Sorry, Madam Shoki. Apologies. You have the podium.
Good morning. I stand here as Mr. Shoki Mapetu. All protocol observed. Today is I'm very honored, to say the least. When I started my journey with Bloomberg 2 years ago, I didn't think we'll be here. But I want to say today's story is not about Bloomberg, it's about Namibia. I started off working with Namibia from 2 years ago, and essentially everything that I've always said about Namibia is the first something. We hosted an event called the Discovery Series 2 years ago, and that's where the plant or the seed was planted to essentially have something like this called the Bloomberg Lab. Bloomberg Finance Lab, right? It sounds like a BFLL, sounds like a functionality on the terminal, but we'll work on it. So I just want to say Namibia continues to harness the power of innovation. And this is by doing things like driving economic development through sustainable finance. And this is why today we find ourselves standing here in this moment whereby we are hosting our first ever finance lab within Africa. It's not just Namibia, it's within Africa. Not even South Africa has this. This is a very turning point, and I think it also speaks to your recent elections where you're going to be swearing in your first female president. You know, it's a whole turning point for Namibia. And I think I'm simply on the sidelines just cheering Namibia on and looking to see what will be birthed out of this. I just wanted to ask, are there future finance professionals in the house, or is it just us with suits and heels? Okay. But for people who are in here, I just want us at least urge ourselves for us professionals who are already in the market to say, this lab is not ours. It's for the future financial young professionals that are coming up. Let's urge them to use it. But where we get in is our knowledge in the market, our skills, our know-how, our best practices. There was a lot of mention regarding Bloomberg being a real-time access for data. In data, we do trust, but I ran MTC on the Bloomberg terminal, and there was nothing. We need to make it relevant. We need to make it work for us. The Bloomberg terminal is the most widely used financial tool in the globe. Why are we not part of it? Where is our data being reflected on the actual terminal? It's my job and your job to essentially ensure that that terminal showcases Africa, showcases Namibia, what we work on. We have a lot of partnerships with Namibia. We are no stranger to Namibia as Bloomberg. We have worked with the likes of the green hydrogen teams using our Bloomberg New Energy Finance, sustainable finance, which continues to aid research. And essentially, this is why we find that Namibia is very comfortable in the fact that they want to be a leading market indicator in terms of green economy, right? We are no stranger to the central banks. We have helped with the market infrastructure using our terminal to essentially aid auctions. We are no stranger to institutions like the Government Institutes of Pension Fund, whereby they host their portfolio management and risk management systems within our tools. So let's make the terminal reflective of what Namibia is, what we stand for, and also what we essentially want to drive ourselves and attract investments at the end of the day. right? Energy generation comes from institutions like NAST, whereby financial professions that are coming in the future would essentially aid themselves to come up with solutions that aim to solve problems that are unmet within Namibia. This is by the Bloomberg Finance Lab would essentially drive towards. And us as Bloomberg, we just want to say we thank you for the opportunity and allowing us to be part of this journey. You could have picked anybody else, but we are the best. And we truly, truly do hope that next year, this time around, we'll be back here running a hackathon in partnership with RMB, green hydrogen programs, looking at things like ESG, financial reporting. How does the change in our pension fund regulatory looks like? And these are the things that we're looking to aim towards. Building that bridge between practicality and the research and the academic knowledge. Let's make financial professions from Namibia well-renowned, competitive, and essentially the best to employ, best in class. We can do that. And these are the things that we will aim to achieve with the Bloomberg Lab. And yeah, I will go to my panel. Sorry for the speech. So I'll put it on Arenze. Arenze did not give me a bias. I would have loved to read the bias and indulge and immerse myself in terms of the great professions. When I saw the people that will be part of the panel, I was like, I am a little undereducated for this. But I'll start with Prof. Errol. NAST is a leading institution within Namibia. And we just wanted to talk about the gap in terms of understanding how do you align the NAST profession, or at least the students within NAST, how do they align their financial skills with what the industry needs?
Yeah. No, thank you so much for this opportunity and the question. Maybe before I venture to respond to the question, I want to say something about this particular moment, what it embodies. It takes me back to one of my mentors when I was doing my PhD, a professor from Australia. He wrote a book titled How Institutions Learn During Time of Uncertainty, right? And his philosophy was ready, fire, and aim, which simply means that innovation is about creating the future. There is another philosophy by Che Guevara. You know Che Guevara. It says innovation is not about waiting for the apple to fall from the tree. It is to make the apple fall from the tree. So this particular moment for me is an embodiment of foresight. You were talking about you cannot wait to see what it would birth. What it would birth is what we will create because it doesn't exist. Mm-hmm. That's the fundamental ideology of what this financial lab would be. Now, to come back to your question about practical skills for our students, particularly students that are taking courses in finance, we have to go back a little bit to understand who we are as a university. And since we are celebrating our 10 years, I have to take you back to the inception of NAST. At the time we transitioned from Polytech to NAST, we took up an identity. A lot of people are still not quite sure what that identity is, but I will help you to understand. We took up an identity of a university of science and technology, which means we are an applied university. We are a practical university. We are a technical university. we have a particular philosophy that makes us distinctively different from most higher education institutions. And this philosophy is similar to that of MIT, which you're probably familiar with, which is manus et manus, which simply means hand and mind. So based on that simple philosophy, all of our educational programs are designed to reflect that, which means we take it particularly important that knowledge itself cannot be for its own sake. Knowledge itself is practical and applied. So all of our courses, all of our programs, qualifications from lower undergraduate level up to PhD are designed in such a manner that it challenges the students to think real world problems. But in order to achieve that particular distinction, you have to work very closely with the industry, because the real world challenges do not reside within the university confines. It is dispersed, it's ubiquitous, it's out there. The only way that you can harness that for our students is to closely partner with the industry. And this particular facility that we call the High Tech Transfer Plaza Select was born out of that ideology. For us as a university to create an environment where we are immersed within the industry, right? The standard way of thinking about it is that the university thinks that you are the only embodiment of knowledge so that people can come to you and learn. But here we are saying that knowledge is a bidirectional aspect. We call it the knowledge transfer partnerships. And here we have created another opportunity that we call knowledge transfer partnership in financial, technology, and intelligence. So to answer your question, this is really what our students would look forward to. And we're looking forward to this particular knowledge transfer partnership with MTC, NIFA, and RMB, and all other industry out there to create a better future for Namibia. I can talk the whole day. Thank you.
I think for a 10-year celebration, I do stand with our Masters of Ceremonies. There's a lack of music. It's a celebration for 10 years. I think we're due for something. I just want to say, what it will birth is what we will create. I think it's right there in terms of how institutions would essentially continue to redefine themselves. What it will birth is what we will create. And I'll come to you, Nicole. We've seen you creating, right? This is where you are. And I guess coming in contact with the green hydrogen program, I just wanted to ask, in terms of understanding what we have right now in terms of what Prof was saying, the applied and the practical university knowledge that they get from NUST. What do you think are the actual specialized financial skills that will be attracting to actually support projects like what is needed right now in Namibia, like your green hydrogen, that sustainable or green economy that we're trying to create here?
Thank you very much, Shoki. Firstly, I have to say I love Bloomberg. I'm a huge fan. I've used it throughout my career so far, and it's been really, really an invaluable tool. In terms of financial skills, because it's a new industry and because it's a nascent industry, really using knowledge sharing and information sharing at this point, deep dive analysis is what can craft the sector going forward. So having that analytical tool base and having that information base is very important when crafting a new industry, when information sharing. And Honorable Kantema mentioned earlier how, having this international skill set, and there's no reason why we can't have it. It's just about democratizing the information, and that is why I think it's so amazing that Mr. Arenze is pioneering this work, because the more we can democratize garnering analytical skills, the more we can democratize gaining information and really understanding what other pioneers are doing in this space and how can we implement that? How can we use what resources we have? And if we don't know the information around that, how can we optimize? How can we drive? How can we pioneer? And we're also working with, at the Green Hydrogen Program, we're working with Bloomberg New Energy Finance to actually input Namibia's green hydrogen and derivatives, so the fuels, the green ions, etc., actually putting that into the Bloomberg portal so that not only is it useful from a skill point of view for future pioneers in the space, but also for investors to know what's going on here. Because again, we really want to democratize the information. And from a skill set point of view, just already having access to that information is already an amazing leap forward. And then utilizing kind of balance sheet analysis, valuation analysis, kind of cost benefit, understanding the cost of capital in the industry. What is the makeup of the debt to equity? Where is it coming from? How are the structures, how are the financial structures for such a new industry being designed? And I think those are all of the skill sets that this industry requires. And, hopefully through this amazing innovative sort of lab, future industry leaders and future analysts can gain those skills. So I think it's a really awesome time. And my boss has done amazing work, Mr. Manyupe, in this space, in really using the late president's green hydrogen ideas and actually then delving into using BNF as to how do we actually execute that drive. So yeah, I think it's an amazing time, and I advocate for young professionals, for students to understand Bloomberg. You can even go listen on YouTube, listen to Bloomberg News, it's free, and get those ideas. See how people are analyzing, see how industry leaders internationally are doing company analysis, industry analysis. There's a lot you can even do for free just using the internet and what Bloomberg has online. Sorry, very long answer, but
No.
Thank you, Shaki.
Thank you for that. Mr. Masori, Nicole talks about developing a new industry. As a regulator, that is always something that's quite alarming, right? As a regulator of the financial sector, how are we thinking about this? What is the way that Bank of Namibia is thinking, or at least trying to remain globally competitive when this new industry is being introduced, and also things that are going to be required from Namibian financial professionals currently in the market and those who are still coming? How are we structuring this?
Yeah, thanks, Shoki. And it's such a pleasure to be here. Before I start, I just want to give my flowers to Dr. Liki and Professor Nama for world-class leading initiatives such as this. I mean, it's very few times that you find people who talk, we like to do policy, we think behind the scenes, but those who actually do something about it, we have to hand it to them. So, congratulations. So the way Bank of Namibia is thinking about this, if you take a look at what Bank of Namibia does, is we're a central bank. So first and foremost, I'll touch on one of our objectives, and that's to manage our national reserves. So like you might have your own bank account, managing your savings, Namibia as a country also has its own savings account with national reserves. At the moment, it's standing just under about 60 billion Namibian dollars. About 23 billion of that is managed locally by internal fund managers like Arinza, who's unfortunately left to the market now, so he's a product of our program. We use platforms like Bloomberg. It's what we leverage to make sure that our reserves are yielding the most returns that we can from from the various global markets. Now, in order for our professionals to remain globally competitive, we look at regulatory alignment, so we also regulate commercial banks, and we want to make sure that our banks remain competitive to how the global industry is operating. So you might be familiar with something like Basel III. We make sure that we try and align to those international standards to make sure that they are compliant to those directives, that their financials are adequately managed, that they have the right people, and we use Bloomberg to leverage off that kind of knowledge to make sure that they are adequately aligning. We also have a digital and fintech focus. All right, you may have known that Bank of Namibia has recently embarked on a very aggressive digital transformation program, modernizing the financial industry. And in order to do that, in order to remain globally competitive, we have to upskill ourselves. We need to make sure that we are building capacity in order to be able to bring in new ways of thinking, new ways of doing business. Our commercial banks are not standing by, and we need to make sure that our regulations are in tandem with that drive in digital transformation. So from a strategic perspective, we're also implementing things like the National Payment Systems Vision 2025. We are currently also facilitating the National Financial Sector Transformation Strategy, and all of those come with initiatives like deepening financial markets, and that requires professionals to make sure that capital is adequately accessed by government and by professionals like yourselves. So that's how Bank of Namibia is looking at it, and I hope we can do more in this space. But yes, our underlying platform is Bloomberg, and it's quite impressive to see that students will be able to have access to the very same tools that we use behind the scenes as part of industry. Thank you, Shoki.
Thank you. I mean, looking at least hearing about the digital and financial technology strategy that the central bank has taken on, it's one of the things that we like to hear, especially in the landscape that we're in Africa. I'm one of those firm believers that with financial technology, Africa can literally be on its finest and biggest accelerated growth. So with that being said, though, Mr. Eric, I'm going to come to you in understanding how does NACIFA align itself or equip itself in this changing evolution of regulatory and investment landscapes. I mean, we heard about new industry being developed, the central bank taking on aggressive strategies in terms of financial technology and digital transformation. How does NACIFA then, in this instance, ensure that the financial professionals are equipped in this ever-changing investment landscape?
Well, thank you for that. It's actually NAMFISA.
NAMFISA.
NAMFISA, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, internally, within NAMFISA itself as an organization, as an authority, we obviously have change management programs. We have capacitation of skills development, primarily focusing on initiatives such as compliance management, risk management, and I think now also corporate governance as well. But at the same time as well, we are a supervisory authority of the non-banking financial services sector. So to effectively execute our mandate, we also need to ensure that the industry as well is also moving in that direction, as well as embracing the new realities that are coming. And in that vein, we are having conversations, and we've been having conversations with the industry with regards to the skills development programs, the succession planning programs, because it does pose a significant risk. The world is also changing at the same time. We facing new kind of risks like cyber, climate risks. So we need to ensure that also within NAMFISA as well as the industry, we are able to confront those risks as they are emerging. And I think the last point I will probably add as well is a significant shift that's happening in Namibia, which probably is relevant to the initiative, today's initiative, is that the regulatory landscape in non-banking financial services is also changing. So we are moving from a compliance-based framework to a risk-based framework. The difference of that being that compliance-based is we get the information and we say, okay, fine, what have you done? If everything has been done, you are compliant. But where we are going to now is we get the information and see what has been done, but then we still ask the additional question, what can possibly happen? What are the risks that are coming? And that requires not just a mindset shift, but it also requires a new set of skills as well. And I think my anticipation is over the next few years, as we are embedding this new supervisory framework, risk professionals or people who are both in a qualitative and in a quantitative space, there will be a higher demand from the industry as both the regulators and the industry has to have that mindset shift towards looking at things from a risk-based point of view. Thank you.
Thank you. Namfisa. Mr. Josephet, Namfisa talks about the change in how they're thinking about their regulation from a compliance-based to a risk-based approach, given the new climate risk that we're facing and all the ever-changing landscapes that we're looking at currently. So as the largest non-banking institution, how are you currently working to build the skills and create employment opportunities with this current landscape?
Yeah. Thank you very much for the question. And perhaps, let me take this opportunity to just congratulate the pioneers of this initiative, NAST, the funding partners, and NIFA, and everybody else who's involved in this initiative. I think it's really a great pioneering initiative and really is going to go a long way in filling the local gap. No, thanks for the question. Maybe just some context. I think there are a number of emerging themes just from this engagements that are coming out. The one is about collaborative partnerships. I think it's coming out strongly. The interplay between academia, industry, and obviously the recipient of knowledge being the students. I think that's very strong. The second one is about capacity building and local skills development. I think that's also another area, and that's a focus area of this engagement. And perhaps the last one is really the transfer of practical knowledge so that what gets taught on a theoretical basis can be lived out in the real world. So I think those are some of the themes. And I think one would appreciate that Namibia being a very small market in every respect, even though we take some pioneering initiatives on a national level and punch above our weight, I think we are still a small market. So one would appreciate that in a small market, what you need to do is leverage your available resources. Okay? And I think it's that collaborative relationship that needs to come to the fore. Our resources could be in terms of financial resources, it could be in terms of skills, it could be in terms of other resources that are available to us. So now NASIA, as an industry body, or as an association that represents about 2/3 of our, the bulk of our members, or at least the association's members, are responsible for about over 300 billion of the country's savings and investments. So I think it's fairly a sizable chunk. And therefore our role really would then revert back to say, how do we mobilize both the resources that sits within the sector in terms of making it an opportunity, so the resources being financial resources and being the expertise that also sits in our sector. You'll also appreciate the fact that the bulk of our members would be reliant on tools such as Bloomberg for the day-to-day engagements and making financial decisions. So we see our roles really in three areas. The opportunities we see lies in leading the industry in becoming involved with academia to craft relevant and timely curriculums so that it is quite responsive to the needs that we see in the industry. So that's the one area where we see opportunities for collaboration. The second area that we see for collaboration is really around the area of what do we do with the skills after you have developed the curriculum, is to provide an opportunity for students to live out the academic component of it and give them practical exposure. So invariably, you have to build in practical, I suppose, practical engagements with the students within the curriculum so that, yes, as an institution, as industry, we should be able to provide an opportunity for students to have that leg. And that's, lastly, it's around the recognitions of those skills locally. First and foremost, even though these are internationally recognized skills, we just don't want to educate people to put them on the streets. I think if we educate them, we must be able to say to ourselves, we recognize that qualification, we certify it accordingly, and we give it meaning by making the person employable. And I think those are really the roles that NASIA can drive locally. And I think that's the role that we would want to fulfill. Thank you very much for the lengthy response.
Now, when you're sitting on a panel, there's no such thing as a lengthy response. It's your time. Tinas, I'll come to you because we're talking about collaborative partnership. And I think this is one thing that is quite great to see, given your stance and the role that you play within this overall finance lab. And I just want to come to you in terms of synergies, right? What is the kind of synergies that exist in terms of MTC's digital systems ecosystem currently and the financial institutions to enhance financial inclusion and market access? And I refer to this because Deputy Minister talked about the three things that she focused on, which was access of capital, access to market, incubation, and skills development. And given your unique position, what are the kind of synergies that you've seen and you have essentially played a role in seeing to fruition? Yeah.
Thank you for the question and good morning. And to take you back a little bit, Honourable mentioned about the internship program. So MTC started a program when we discover there's a big need in the market to make academia employable. So there must be a period where people need to get practical to be employed. Then we moved from an MTC internship program to a national internship program. And the reason that I mention it is that MTC aim is that we join forces, which is financial forces, human capital forces, and all the other capitals together to ensure that we a bigger and a stronger representation. And that's the reason that we changed from an MTC internship program to a national internship program. So coming now to the Bloomberg Lab, I think Bloomberg Financial Lab can be a little bit of misleading and said it's only financial information, which is not the truth. It's a total variety of information, as members on the panel mentioned, about looking at for green hydrogen, looking for governance of the bank, looking for governance of regulators. So the opportunity MTC really want to support and is that let's bring this tool not only to the students of MUST, but with courses to the MTCs and all the others to assist to make proper financial decisions. So moving now to the synergy, MTC is moving into the fintech space with the launch that we quite recently do of Maris, which is for us a total neo dimension, but that will ensure that we bring the unbanked and those that in the far rural areas into the system itself. What is very important is that when MTC started 30 years back, the business plan forecasted that the maximum number of subscribers of MTC would be 25,000. Not millions, 25,000. So looking what happened from there until today, the first call was made 1995, and everyone think about it was a method of connect party A to party B, Where MTC is today, it's a connecting partner. Is at the end of the day, is not making the call, is to connect data, is to connect people, is to connect businesses. So the synergy is moving towards the enabler for making the connection to all the areas, making proper business decisions. My neighbor mentioned that we are quite a small economy and that our resources are limited. So why do we want to make the same mistakes and pay the same school fees as the others already in the world? And that is the reason that we're very excited to be part and support this Bloomberg Lab. At the end of the day, I want to leave out the finance portion because it's not about what is the volatility of the US dollar. It's about what is the information available that we can make a business decision to ensure sustainability. And that brings me to the last point where we mentioned ESG. ESG is not only the social responsibility, but it's the sustainability. How we create a small unit to be sustainable. So at the end of the day, how do we ensure that the money that we put there, ensure that in 5-10 years' time, there's a proper return on investment, and that word is sustainability.
Tina's just the last question. Are you reporting ESG?
Pardon?
Are you reporting ESG?
Yes, we do.
Oh, yeah.
And what is important, not what is reporting ESG? Is that the tick box? Or is that reporting what you as a company stand for? And I want to avoid the word we report ESG.
Yeah.
We report what we are doing in our integrated report.
Thank you. I think the ESG disclosures of certain companies, I always say, as Africa, it's probably contradictory, but as Africa, we're already doing ESG in so many ways. We see it as a way of life and building communities, and people are starting to come and redefining that for us. Let's continue on doing what we're doing. And what Tina was talking about how many unbanked Africans are there, and that where that opportunity lies in terms of mobile money. It's a great thing just to watch and being part of. I'm just going to take an opportunity because we've heard from our panelists. Questions on the floor. Let's make it a little bit interactive. We've learned about what our regulators, our corporates, and our industry leaders are essentially working towards, and they have essentially aided in the community of Namibia. I'm sure there's a question out there. Jackie?
Good morning, Shoki. I'll give it to my colleague. Okay. Not a problem. So I'm Chekolina Katuo. I am with the provisionally licensed Axis Bank Namibia. My question would go to Mr. Namap. This is actually a very profound event for me to be at. I've also been using Bloomberg all my life as a financial markets specialist. What is it that the students are going to be awarded for them being in this program from your side?
Hi, since she had already directed me to ask a question, so I'll just follow up on that. So for me, it's not necessarily the students, but what about the community at large, just the entrepreneurs out there who are not within the vicinity of the institute? How is this going to help them to make better decisions in their businesses? Thanks.
Yes.
Right. Thank you again for the questions. First of all, what awards are the students going to get? Perhaps two things. The first one is that we've learned from Okafor's presentation that there will be certifications on demand, which would certainly mean that students would have access to all the different portfolio of certification programs that are globally recognized certification programs that would put our students at a far more advantage than most universities. That's something that we're looking forward to. The second is we're practically inverting Bloomberg's content to influence our curriculum, in a sense that we want to ensure that when students graduate with a bachelor's or an honors or a master's, they are able to benchmark that with the global best practice. So what they will get, of course, is a qualification that is NAST qualification, but of course, they will have a particular skill set that is derived from Bloomberg that other universities are unable to offer, which is something that we think will push our students to the highest levels of skills deployment. The other part is perhaps the part that is a little bit silent in the conversation so far, is about, how we can utilize this resource to conduct research, to support so many different sectors of our economy. And I think this would be at the disposal of our lecturers, our researchers, to be able to access this resource and then being able to provide solutions that otherwise would not have been possible without this particular tool at their disposal. How do we reach it? How do we reach to the entire Namibia? Of course, I think the advent of technology becomes imperative here. What we are as a university is that we have a very good spread of a footprint of the university across Namibia, north, south, east, west, whether it's a campus or whether it is a center. And there can be possibility for people to just walk into any of our regional centers or our campuses to be able to access this resource through those networks. So in essence, I think we've made it equitable, and the word that keeps coming up is democratizing. Now, the partnership with the private sector and the university makes this really a democratic aspect, which I believe that most Namibians will be able to access, irrespective of where you are. Or your level of education doesn't matter, because I think Kofar also indicated that there are different types of courses that everyone can access. Thank you.
I think what I just want to add to that is, especially on the community at large, we are the community. I'm seeing some of my clients here. Nicole, what about an ESG lecture? Ian, how does global financial markets work? You introduced yourself as a financial market specialist, Jackie. Guest lecture, Make the Bloomberg terminal as practical as possible. Regulation in terms of using the Bloomberg terminal, even though we don't have Bloomberg, Namibia regulatory, there is benchmarking regulation on the terminal itself. How do we incorporate that with NASIFA? NAMFISA, NASIA, how do we incorporate that into the Namibian context? How does NAMFISA, NASIA get their content on the Bloomberg terminal? Because people also need to learn about Namibia. The new industries are attracting a lot of eyes. They're attracting a lot of attention. How do we make that relevant to somebody who's sitting in London, to somebody who's sitting in the US, to say there's a country called Namibia. How do we invest in there? Bonds are starting to be traded, institutional investors, So even the reporting from MTC, how do we get that on the Bloomberg terminal? We need to work at that. So we are the community. Let's volunteer where we can. Let's offer our skills and our know-hows in terms of making this a success. I think everybody who's here has a vested interest in seeing this work to its benefit. So do I cut it off or? Just last words, actually, sorry. Last words. I'll start with you, Prof. What is, as we conclude, right, key insights and action points that you believe is critical to the financial education to achieve our national development goals in Namibia.
Well, thank you, thank you. We would need another 2 hours to really expand on that. But one of the things that I want to perhaps say is that this is quite a remarkable opportunity for Namibia. I say so because the future of work is changing, and one of the main issues that industry sits with is how do you future-proof the industry's particular sectors from a smart perspective. And our role in Namibia's industrialization agenda is to support those industries who are determined to break through in the future where things are very difficult, with the advent of artificial intelligence, generative AI, and all these other aspects. What role would we play as a university to de-risk that? I mean, you spoke about moving from a compliance-based framework to a risk-based framework. Our role to unlock that industrialization possibility for Namibia is to support the industries to sufficiently de-risk, right? Now, we do that from two perspectives. We have to close the gap, that chasm that is evident in every country where there is a chasm between universities and the industry. We have to close that as quickly as possible. And this is one particular platform through the Bloomberg Financial Lab that we believe that that gap has been sufficiently narrowed. And we would be able to provide foresight, support, and above all, well-skilled, competent young Namibians who would walk out of this university ready for the future of work and ready to support you. That's our promise. That's what we are working towards to. Thank you.
Talking about narrowing the gap, I guess my question will go to both Namfisa and Nasia. In terms of best practices, what are your summarized thoughts on best practices in terms of enhancing regulatory oversight within the financial sector development?
I actually like the focus on real-time data. And what this is going to bring to the industry definitely is it's probably going to give us an affinity, or if I could even go as far as saying making us addicted to having real-time data. And I mean, I'm saying this as a joke, but it is actually very important, a serious issue. When our current legislation was written in 95, 98, you know, there was just put in there that insurance companies, as various other companies in the non-banking space, have 6 months to submit information to us. So you can imagine by the time we get that information, it has to have some limiting factors to it in terms of what we can do with that information. The new legislation obviously is speaking about 3 months. And it's only through leveraging technology that one can actually also, on a cost-effective basis, move from 6 months to 3 months. There's things like what's known as regulatory technology or RegTech. There's SupTech, where we use supervisory technology to return information faster to the industry. And I think another issue of best practice, or what's probably very appropriate, is the technology of engagement. We spoke earlier on about ESG, and when the information is being provided to regulatory authorities, how do we engage community? How do we engage the various stakeholders in terms of where we are as an industry with regards to certain information? And I actually think as initiatives, or if topics that, for example, like King 5 speaks a lot about maximizing stakeholder returns as opposed to just shareholder returns. So as those kind of governance frameworks are becoming more and more embedded, we will have to start finding better ways to communicate information in a more real-time basis to various stakeholders, which is appropriate also to various stakeholders, because you have to communicate differently to each of them. And that's why I'm actually very excited about what we are talking about today in terms of real-time information, because sometimes when we speak about real-time, it's like we're speaking about Bigfoot, you know. People are like, what are you talking about, you know? So this can at least get people excited about the benefits of having real-time data. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, thank you. For me, the key question really is around, as a small country in a big global village, how do you become and maintain global competitiveness? How does our subsectors, whether the financial sector, whether it's the agricultural sector or any other important subsector, how do we maintain that competitiveness where we need to compete with everyone? And for me, it always comes back to the resilience and the investment in your human resources. It's only Namibians that can step up to the plate and play at the level that we are demanded to play. Okay? If your human resources are not at that stage, then you'll continue experiencing what we are experiencing. The shortage of skills, the importation of skills, the continual reliance on other markets to fuel your innovation. And then I think for me, a tool like Bloomberg really makes it real because A, we can benchmark what's happening out there and we can step up to that plate once we understand what's happening in the space of ESG, what's happening in other spaces in terms of financial market regulations or any other areas that we need to benchmark. So I think initiatives like this, homegrown initiatives like this, excites me because I think that's the first step of actually stepping up to become a globally competitive country. Is you must invest in your resources and they must step up on behalf of the country to play in those key sectors where you want to become globally competitive. So Bloomberg for me is really just that, this interplay between academia, industry, and other stakeholders, regulators. We need to pull in the same direction, focus on the same things as a country. Thank you.
I think you keep referring to Namibia as a small economy, and I think that is actually the biggest strength that Namibia has, the ability to pull in the same direction. And in terms of ensuring that real-time data, let's make sure that the real-time data also include Namibia. It will be a sad reality to see it real-time data, but for other regions. I wanted to say, no, Namibia, you saw it here first. Yeah. Masari, we're talking about pipelining financial professionals in the future. And I know this is something that the central bank focuses on, as Arenza had also insinuated about how he traveled overseas to go study at the back of being supported by the central bank. But I just wanted to talk about that support, like the local capital formation and how you continuously look out for opportunities to reduce reliance on external parties to come and feed information into the central bank itself.
Yeah, I'd like to respond to that with first saying the mere fact that we're here right now at this gathering is directly responding to that question. You know, creating a pipeline of skills starts with early access to education, early access and exposure to platforms, knowledge, information, etc., such as Bloomberg through programs like this. From an industry perspective, we're taking a look at, with our sister regulator, the Financial Sector Transformation Strategy, which has a very strong pillar on certifications, development, and education for the financial sector. We're looking at deepening financial markets and also industry collaboration. I think Arenza said it best in that some of these things can only really become fully successful if we partner up with our education sector, if we partner up with industry and the community at large. Thank you.
Tinas, I come to you. Closing thoughts, essentially, on how do you see this leveraging of the Bloomberg Lab and industry partnership and also the policy interventions that we have heard here today? How does MTC continue to strive first in that?
Thank you. What is very important is that when you're looking at, not MTC, but as listed entities, is there's quite pressure on cost saving and automation. And with information from the Bloomberg, that can be the feed into decision making. So what we're looking forward is to utilize, not, as I previously said, the up and down and the volatility of the US dollar against the Namibian dollar, but to use the information, the vast spread of information, to take business decisions at all. And when you roll out your NEO offerings to the total Namibia, it's from the fintech side to the traditional making the connection side, to ensure that we fulfill. Because at the end of the day, business change from a push to a pull, where customers is demanding, and mention the global village, it's with the data available, people compare what is your offering to the neighbor offering to the world offering. And at the end of the day, there is also sort of the big education, what can we tap? And in closing, this is a tool, but if you don't use the tool, there can be a lot of sponsorships, there can be a lot of, and you can call all the resources. So my call will be, let's use the tool which is within Namibia now. I learned as well, it's not only for the NAS students, but there will be customized courses, let's call it from the business school. So we refer young, but also for these that in positions can utilize that via NAST as well.
Just echoing Tina's word, underutilization is the enemy of progress and success. And I think we can all agree. And that brings us to our panel discussion. And I just want to ask the panelists just to stand in line here for pictures to be taken. And then I guess there will be closing remarks.
Well done, moderator, Madam Beautiful Moderator, and your panelists. Round of applause. Maybe to sum up, I think we are running out of time, but perhaps just to have some few thoughts from the panel discussion, that we will birth what does not exist. Brilliantly said by our own Vice Chancellor. Yes, the collaboration will make it happen. Program curriculum development review will be aligned to this new provision of financial literacy and fundamentals. The energy sector will also benefit from Bloomberg's intricacies, as well as the non-banking sector through NAMFISA, NASIA, compliance mechanisms, and also the profiling of their reports through the Bloomberg terminals. Before we view the Bloomberg's terminals, just across, I would like to call upon the director, the executive director for the Directorate of Research, Innovation and Partnership, Dr. Anna Matros-Gorezes, to provide us the closing remarks. Dr. Anna Matros-Gorezes, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Madam Facilitator, Moderator. Just find the right spot. Okay. Let's just get the aeroplane over. I'm absolutely delighted to stand here. And normally, ladies and gentlemen, industry leaders, financial sector leaders, they don't allow me to say the last word. So I'm thinking this is an absolutely great opportunity to say the last word. You will see here at NAST, we do it a little bit differently. So closing remarks will end with a PowerPoint slide. So if I can just draw your attention a little bit to the slide deck. I promise, Madam Moderator, it's still the same time you've allocated for us. But the discussions that we had, Honorable Minister, your keynote remarks really align with what is in store with the NAST Innovation Hub. I will maybe pause a little bit and indicate that we look at the logo. It also has a deeper meaning to it because it speaks to, it's a representation of creativity and limitless possibilities. That's what we are saying within the NAST Innovation Hub. Now, at the heart of the design, you will see the eye, the red eye, which stands as a pillar of identity. It symbolizes the students, the staff, and the partners who are the driving force behind the transformative change. Now, the I is not just a letter in the NAST Innovation Hub. It's an invitation to step into a space of ideas where we incubate students taking entrepreneurship forward and as a culture in itself, so that this is a space where you can take risks without fear and where innovation thrives. It also speaks to the I as an individual, where we would want our students, our staff, our partners to go there and see themselves and be seen. So you will see on top of the I, there's a fusion of science, because the undertone is research in itself, exploration, right? Technological advancement. But it also speaks to the interconnected knowledge that is being developed within this particular space. And that also speaks to the collaborative spirit that we've been talking about. I heard the minister keep saying, let's do this together. And that is exactly what this particular, the logo in itself, but also this space that has to offer. And of course, the blue is NAST blue, speaks of stability, professionalism, forward thinking. Can I go on, VC? But it's really looking at the forward-thinking mindset change that we're talking about. And a lot of the panelists were talking about that. Let's think outside the box. Let's do it a little bit different. And also the blue obviously stands for passion, what we are known for, but also boldness. And finally, what the VC likes to see is the disruptive thinking. Now, I would like to move the slides, if I can, and maybe just take you through a visualization of that. And it will make it very clear in a minute why I'm doing that. Our Deputy Vice Chancellor for Research and Innovation spoke a little bit about the Innovation Hub. And as we know, once we are done now, we will have a look at a temporary space where Bloomberg Lab is housed. And what I'm showing now is where the permanent space will be. Bloomberg, South Africa, permanent space will be in this particular space. I will do it very quickly. This is where you will note that this is where our current Namibia Business Innovation Institute is housed. It is it's a space just opposite the road, and we are looking at it to remodel it to fit the purpose of what we're talking about today. So again, the emphasis here is really creating a hub that embodies vibrancy and student identity, like I've already said, but it also offers a fusion of co-working spaces, interactive lecture rooms, high-tech STEM and craft workshops. You will see in all of that, conference areas, and a space where we are incubating our staff. So it's a social hub. Professor Samento will like that. Social innovation hub, which serves central to a gathering point. I will just be going through the slides for you to get a feel for where we are finally targeting the Bloomberg Lab at the end. And we want it to be, let's think about it as a melting pot of diverse mindsets, exchanging perspectives, sparking innovation, and creating that culture of co-creation. So you will see focus on the central area, which is the proposed intervention, how it will look like eventually. You will see, like I mentioned, there are various functional spaces that will be created within the current space that we have. And basically, let me take you through a virtual orientation of what we're looking at. We already spoke about it's going to be an active learning space. Honorable Minister, you will note that the pedestrian crossing is also not your normal pedestrian crossing. It's taking you to a place where, like I said, it's disruption, it's innovation, it's creativity happening. And like we said, we are redefining the traditional educational models under the faculties, under the leadership of Professor Samente's faculty, where the Innovation Hub will obviously be leading, but also it will be interlinked with all the other faculties, so that students, like the panelists were saying, can be equipped with practical, future-ready skills that we're talking about. And I like the words technology enabling. I think that was a good one, so we will start using that as well. So this is just really a slide, a browse through that. And we're saying we're also looking at night spaces. During the night, we're looking at how do we take student ideas, have pop-up shops. Let us market the students' products that are coming from our Fab Lab. We have a Fab Lab where we're doing prototyping, various idea testing happening, and that is what's going to be happening. The Vice Chancellor don't know it yet, but we will be having a lot of, okay, I saw the face. A lot of shows and musicians and, you know, taking us back to our days, Vice Chancellor, when we were students ourselves. But that is another discussion. I see my DVC finance is also like, But it is talking about a vibrant space, ladies and gentlemen. And this is just a glimpse of what the Innovation Hub will be looking like. We will have co-creation spaces, like we've indicated. We are incubating a lot of student ideas that are really stemming from research, looking at market potential. And I'm so happy to see some of the investors in the rooms. Don't follow my eyes. But we are looking at that. So over and above the co-creation spaces, we are in discussion with various other partners, and this is just illustrating what it will look like eventually. Bloomberg Financial Lab. We've already talked about the vibrancy that it will be creating, and this is what it will be looking like. There is a space specifically earmarked where it will finally be hosted. And we were just talking this morning with the NIFA CEO and saying, Anna, I think we have to talk about expansion. And I'm like, okay, let us start with what we have and see how we take it forward. You will note that this is looking at the current terminals that are made available, and basically that is the look and feel for it at the moment. Of course, we will be discussing again with the partners involved, MTC. I've lost the MD at the moment, but yes, together with our main partners, we will be looking at that. Yes, so that is just a look and feel. I wanted to pause here for 1 second. Madam Moderator, I'm almost done. Let's look at this image. This will be on the wall in the Bloomberg lab. And this image is speaking of vibrancy. It's a symbolic representation of Namibia's economic growth, the financial sector, and the entrepreneurial spirit that we're all talking about. And I'm so happy most of the panelists were talking about that. Let's do it homegrown. So the Namibian flag is prominently displayed, setting the scene for the narrative of national pride and ambition. Honorable Minister, I cannot overemphasize the fact that our EXCO and especially our Vice Chancellor has been saying let's Namibianize our spaces, because we have a deep-rooted heritage that we are not selling to our current generation at the moment, so that we are able to connect. And that's where the trees, the acacia trees, the rocks, it really speaks to that heritage that are rooted in itself. But finally, it is also talking about progress and financial empowerment. We are looking at a diverse group of individuals climbing a rising graph, symbolizing the growth, the resilience, and the pursuit of economic advancement. So the presence there is really the currency that's floating there. It highlights the financial sector's role in driving innovation and investment. And that's what we want to instill within the Bloomberg Lab, but also within the entire space there. Finally, as we are coming to a close, and I am coming to a close, I really want to express our deepest appreciation to everyone here who made this launch a reality. We're not only launching a state-of-the-art Bloomberg Financial Laboratory, but we're also reaffirming our commitment to university-industry collaboration as a catalyst for innovation, economic transformation, and global competitiveness. I also, through the partnership with visionary institutions such as MTC, NIFA, and Bloomberg, we are equipping our students with world-class financial tools, real-time market insights, and the analytical acumen needed to thrive in the global complex economy. So this is not about theory at all. We've established that. We're a science and technology university, and it's about practical, hands-on learning that bridges that academia with the real world of finance. I see we have a lot of financial sector participants here, and we also, while many of the financial sector remains fixated on return on investment, and I'm looking at my partners there. Here we are looking at, here at NAST and with our partners, we would like to proudly emphasize on return on impact, transforming the transformation that will bring individuals, industries, and our nation as a whole together. So at this point, Madam Facilitator, I would like to close off. You will see on the slide, we always emphasize we make it in Namibia for Africa and beyond. And that has always been our motto here at NAS, so that we can live through that, so that we can also have labels in the market, make in Namibia, made in Namibia, and then we take it to the African continent and beyond. So I think as we stand here at the new era of innovation, I would like to extend my deepest appreciation to Una Stierman architects that were behind the 3D conceptualization that you've just witnessed. They really managed to conceptualize the vision that our EXCO had, especially the NAS Vice Chancellor. They could translate really what we wanted to do of that particular space. So I would like to appreciate them in their absence as well. May I, at this juncture, also greatly appreciate our Vice Chancellor, our EXCO members. They are all here in full attendance. Our industry partners, future industry partners and collaborators. Your presence really is a testament of the power of partnerships, shared aspirations, and a collective commitment to driving real impact. We appreciate that. I would like to pause here, Madam Facilitator, and ask the Vice Chancellor, MTC's MD, or a representative of MTC at this point, and the NIFA CEO to please hand over small tokens of appreciation to our panelists and our moderator. If we could ask that, it's really small in terms of what we can say, but we really just wanted to indicate that appreciation from our side. Yes, please. And the panelists, thank you so much, Dr. Erastus, for joining us. They will hand over the token of appreciations to our panelists and the moderator. Maybe we will not have conversations, but we will say thank you, VC. I don't see our NIFA CEO on the stage thanking our panelists. Thank you so much, colleagues. It is innovation in the making. VC, we are not thanking the people more than the handshake. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Finally, before our distinguished leaders sit down, I would also like to please ask Mr. Ian Erlang from RMB to come. This is very small in comparison to the donation we have received from RMB. And we're looking forward to adding RMB also to the logos. They have done a remarkable donation, and you will see when you go into the lab, the screens that are there is from RMB. So thank you so much. Thank you very much. And Madam Moderator, I will end here for you to guide us on the logistics to the tour. Thank you.
Wow. We are yet to say wow when we move towards the labs. Thank you very much, Dr. Gorozes, Anna Matros Gorozes, for your remarks. Doctor, I couldn't really, stop and think how innovative you are. The last I thought we were launching, but then we have launched a mini launch. We have witnessed today a mini launch of the NASI. The NASI basically symbolizes our ecosystem for entrepreneurship and innovation, social innovation, as Dr. Matros Gorozes stressed. Thank you very much for that. And my child always says, Mom, it's not that deep if there is no gift. It's not that deep if there's no gift. But it is that deep. So we have seen the gifts. They actually make sense. It's just a token, although small they are, but it's a token of appreciation to our partners. Thank you very much for that. Before we go and do the ribbon cutting and the tour to the lab, I would like to request the AU anthem followed by the national anthem in that order. May I request Dr. Anna Matros Gorozes to assist with the tour visit and the ribbon cutting? Please escort us to the place. Just an announcement, most of us will remain here seated. We'll be able to watch from the monitors here. So the high table can actually do the honors, and we'll watch, observe from here. Please be seated.